Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, and let's call this chapter 3 of my journey of awakening. And I'm going to start this chapter with a quote. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Now, at this point of my journey, the fire that once burned inside of me, that fire that wanted to make it as a recording artist, that wanted to go all the way to the top in a metal band, in a rock band, that fire was burning out. It was starting to get extinguished. And I'd hit a creative block. I couldn't write songs anymore. My heart was broken. I just felt like I was spinning my wheels and not going anywhere, just playing clubs, not growing much of a fan base, not growing the audience that I needed, not having any interest whatsoever to propel my musical vision forward. And I didn't know what to do. I wasn't ready to completely give up, but again, I was driving with 3 flat tires at this point. Only had one wheel maybe that had some air in it, and was just lost. And the identity, the false self that I created, this image that I created to find the courage to get on a stage and do what I did, I was not believing in it anymore. And I was broken. But sometimes when we're broken, we find our greatest gifts on the other side. And at this time is when I met my mentors. The mentors that came into my life and taught me essential skills and disciplines that I still practice today, that have shaped the direction of my journey of consciousness and sovereignty. See, at this time, a boxing gym opened up across the street from where I was living, and I dabbled in martial arts when I was younger. I practiced. I had a not a very good practice. I had a consistent practice, but I wanted to be, I guess, someone who was who wanted to be able to do all styles. This is kind of what mixed martial arts, it was around, but it was in its infancy. But I wanted to be someone who could kind of do it all, but I was too immature to put the discipline into sticking with something long enough to build the skills. So I had some experience, and I'd had some training in martial arts, but this time I said, you know, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to go for it. And I got into boxing and fell in love with it. Taught me some great lessons. Honestly, when you were in the ring with someone and they are there to take your head off, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about what you're made out of. And it was a great chance for me to work through my fears and issues of confidence. My coach was wonderful. He actually introduced me to techniques in visualization and belief, because the gym, it had some hard times, as many boxing and martial arts gyms do, but my coach was always positive, and he was always resourceful and was able to pull on just a spiritual power beyond. And I got to be with him when he did that. And you know, he gave me his full heart and his soul in coaching me and coaching everyone else. And also a Steiner school opened up next to where I was living. And I met another great mentor there, a mentor who introduced me to the Chinese martial arts of Xingyi and Bagua. And practices that changed my life. And then we studied, just getting into studying the mind, body, spiritual complex, all that constitutes the human experience. I was able to meet mentors. I met all these mentors at this one time. It was crazy. This is another time of synchronicity. These martial and healing practices, martial arts and healing arts, masters, high-level practitioners came into my life and were willing to teach me. And all these practices all complemented each other. Boxing, Shaolin, Bagua, Xingyi, Tai Chi, Qigong. I had teachers for all these practices, and I just devoted my time to studying and just giving it my all. And my teachers in all these disciplines, they taught me, they gave me their all. They gave me their full heart, they gave me their soul. And I sort of lived almost like a monastic life at this time. I worked some simple jobs to make money, and I was dedicated to learning and training. I was still playing music, but most of my energy was in my training at that point. And I felt a great contentment being a student, being a beginner again, and I felt the joy of being able to let go for a little bit. And once again, not every one of my mentors are still in my life to this day, but I'm thankful for all of them. I'm so thankful for that time that I spent there and for what they put into me. And again, this is all synchronicity. I couldn't have planned this. I saw these opportunities, and something in my heart knew I wanted to go there, and I said yes. So this went on. You know, I spent a good 5 or 6 years at this point. But at this point too, I was building another shadow. There were still parts of myself that I was not fully addressing, and I was starting to create a new identity based off of being a martial artist, being a boxer. And that started to create yet another shadow, which had its consequences. And a new creative project showed up at this point. My creativity showed up in a different form, and I had another project that was actually involving YouTube in its early years, and I felt the joy of creating again. But once again, we have the ebbs and flows of life. There were lessons that I needed to address, and that's going to bring me into what happens in chapter 4, when I face my shadow in a way that I have never done in my life at that point, where I face great loss, where I face my real dark night of the soul, one that I've never experienced, and one that shattered my perceptions and existence, but also shattered me to a point that it opened up the pathway to the next stage of awakening. So I'll end this here. If you have a mentor in your life, thank them, let them know you love them and how much you appreciate them. If you don't, know they're out there, and again, you do your work. You work with what the universe gives you. But know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and the guides you need to help you on your journey, they're out there, and they will be available to you when you're in alignment. That's all I got to say for today. Class dismissed.